centers and gardens that can host any kind of parties. They have a gym in case you want to keep your body in shape, and a spa in case you want to pamper yourself a little bit. My name is Carol Tumwine, here with issues at hand this morning. We get into it with our guest of the day. His name is Christopher Rwanga from UPC, and we are going to be, chit-chatting and politicking with him, and he's going to give us a view about, of course, how the year has been, what has happened politically during this year, and how are we doing when it comes to some of the sectors like the economy, which is very, very important for us, but also other issues like the education sector. Are we improving or are we going backwards? Also, is Uganda as a multi-party system going forward, or do we need to have a little bit of dictatorship so that we can have better results? All that with my guest in the studio this morning. You're welcome.
Thanks very much, Comrade Carol, for welcoming me, and Family TV for hosting me once again, and on such an important topic which closes the year. First of all, greetings from UPC Party Headquarters, the party president, Honorable Jim Akena, MP Lira East Municipality, UPC Fraternity at Uganda House, in the country and in the diaspora. They are always following this program, and they are very appreciative. Oh, yes.
That is very good feedback. Yes. Thank you so much. And we do send greetings out to the team at UPC. We love you so, so much. Yes. To start with, I would like us to look at the issue of corruption. The IGG came out, to say that nobody would be caught in a corruption case and go away free. And we are looking at times where, there's been a lot of challenges when it comes to PDM money. All over 14 districts have court officials blatantly stealing this money, from the subordinates who are supposed to take it and use it, to develop their lives. We are seeing government officials coming to tamper with this money, and we have seen a number of arrests being made by our leaders, which we thank God. But where do we stand as a country when it comes to corruption tendencies? Are we over that, or do we still have a long way to go?
Thanks very much. When we talk about corruption, we have to really appreciate that corruption is a global phenomenon. Okay. It is not a Ugandan scenario alone. And that's why there is an International Corruption Day, which I think is celebrated every year on 9th December of every year. Then also there is an African Corruption Day, which is also celebrated around July every year. And Uganda indeed participates in it, in those two celebrations. But participating is another thing, and what is done on the ground is also another thing. Of course, our society has issues with the corruption, and laws have been put in place, institutions have been put in place to try to follow up corruption. And they have set a sequence, which sequence investigate, arrest, prosecute, and of course pass a judgment, pass a decision, and at the same time confiscate all the proceeds from the corrupt. On paper, it is very possible. But when you go into the actual reality, people who are very corrupt, they don't leave tracks along the way. And the people who are very corrupt are quite institutionalized and are embedded in almost a very sensitive corner, such that to arrest it is not easy. And you may end up arresting the small fish, as they term it. And those you may have seen being arrested with the Paris Development Model money could constitute the small fish. Where is the big fish? Of course, IGG officers showed the money which is lost, that it is a huge amount of money which could take Uganda to another level. Yeah. And as we are struggling to fight corruption, then we get misleading or confusing signals. IGG officer says it is going to go for smart audit, okay, where they will say, Mr. Rwanga, Christopher, you are putting on this very expensive shirt. Did you buy it from the proceeds of your job? or you got it from another way round. It goes beyond a shirt, and it goes to physical assets. Where did you get this? How did you accumulate this within so short a time? Now, to do that smart audit, as it was pronounced by IGG Honorable Betty Kamya, again, the overall fountain of honor advised her that please go slow on these issues. Okay? And by going slow, it means that things are very, very hot. You may chase away some of our people, or you may such that it is a bit, it requires, in other words, the corruption you are trying to talk about, to be fought, it requires political will. If you have the political will, then you can follow up a number of issues. You can even engage or acquire more updated technology, and you work with the rest such that within a dot you can get the corrupt people. But some of the people who are talking about corruption and trying to arrest others have also complained that when you try to corner someone in another corner, tries to run to another corner which is a bit more protective, more stronger, okay? So it makes the work very, very difficult. But we must say that corruption has a huge potential of even bringing down any government if governments don't come in to fight it. How does this happen? Corruption will destroy service delivery. Where you expect medicines to be in the hospital, medicines will not reach the hospital. Where you expect roads to be well repaired, roads will be poorly repaired. Where you expect government to earn a lot of revenue through taxation, corrupt people will evade taxes. So in the whole, at the end of it, the government image gets distorted or destroyed or damaged. And once the government image gets destroyed or damaged, it becomes even very difficult to implement any government program. And it means the ruling party by that time, its manifesto is under serious crisis. If you bring it to practical reality and you don't talk into distant terms or examples, we have repaired the roads in Uganda, but the roads have refused or have become very stubborn that they are always ever with the potholes. Some are even falling in. One would ask, what type of contractors are those? Who gave the contract? Who assessed the work? Who did what? Who paid? Okay, these are important questions you cannot run away from. And it has required now the government to jump in and say, this thing is running out of control. Where is SFC with your technical team? Can you come and you patch up holes in Kampala? As it is being done now to patch up the holes, again other criticisms are coming. That these people did not pass through a tendering process. These people, we cannot audit them because whatever work they do is a part of the classified arrangements. You cannot follow. There is a limit by which you follow. So much as they are doing a perfect service to alleviate the situation is being alleviated in a different manner where the local council or Kampala State Council Authority is having arguments. And that is where we are. And by next year, which is not very far, we are supposed to have important conferences of non-aligned movement and the G77. How do you have them with the potholes? Okay, that is an area where you are seeing that indeed corruption is bringing us down. Okay, and most of our roads, Some are falling in, like recently the road going into Zaire from Kasese. It fell in, and the explanation is the local people went and started vandalizing most of the metals, most of the culverts, and eventually the road fell in. Okay, just near within Kampala here, most of the roads, their equipment, their lighting systems have been vandalized. Of course, this is another form of corruption, okay? And it is not the government telling people that you go and loot a public property, but it is how the society is degenerating, okay? And this degeneration of society, we need a lot of renewal. Spiritual, mental, we are lacking in those morals, and it is causing us a big problem. So the battle of corruption may break our back, and we have had challenges which are very naked, and these challenges, like especially like from the time of COVID, the COVID money, COVID resources went missing. Very difficult to account for. And yet at the same time, we have to appreciate our citizenry and our companies which came in to pull resources together, and we pass out and we go through the challenges of COVID. For instance, we have to say thanks, special tribute to MPs who contributed ambulances for emergency, COVID emergencies. But again, we have to ask questions. If MPs are rolling out their ambulances to go and help in the cause, what of those of the government? Why didn't the government take note that we have a shortage of ambulances? And would a citizen complain if government allocated enough money to buy to buy ambulances? Government would, nobody would complain. Okay. Then it is not even ambulances. COVID gave us a very good experience. It exposed us that we don't even have enough enough oxygen cylinders across the country in our hospitals. Okay? And it is the time now they made the rapid acquisition of oxygen cylinders. I don't know whether now we have them in enough quantities and enough oxygen to put in, because to have a gas cylinder is another thing, and to have an oxygen supply is also another thing. Then at the same time also, we got exposed that we don't have enough beds in the country to handle those emergencies. I think by the time COVID broke out, we had about 50 beds. And all those critical cases of COVID had real challenges. And indeed, a temporary hospital had been created even at Nambole Stadium. But since we came out from COVID, we needed to perfect all those gaps. But they showed serious gaps, and they showed that we are indeed very far from it. So COVID gave us a very good experience. It showed how much we should perfect our health system, and at the same time also how much we should work as a community. Because COVID cannot be just handled from the top there, it has also to be handled at the grassroots. Then we also tried a system of distributing relief food during COVID. It showed that our system is not yet perfect in case we have a disaster. Because most parts of Kampala, I can tell you a very good example. I reside in Kaboja. Kaboja is just close to Natete. I was seeing the Natete people getting the COVID beans, COVID miru. In Kaboja, we just felt a smell, and it is just separated by one township. Okay, so it was showing, and other areas also had such a type of COVID experiences or complaints. But to dig more, in this year, we had, I think, the issue of the iron sheets saga. The iron sheets were meant to go for Karamoja sub-region, but somehow they did not reach the intended places and were distributed to other places. They also exposed us that at times when we allocate something to another area, for that item to reach, it can take ages and it can disappear along the way. Good enough, those who had got those iron sheets illegally, or after being misdirected, have taken back the iron sheets. And I'm sure the Karamoja people may be happy. But when again you look into Karamoja and its needs, it may not be necessarily the iron sheets. There may be other needs which are connected with their life. I had a chance of living in Eastern Equatorial State in Southern Sudan. But when it is hot season, you even move out of your tuku. Tuku is a hut, and you sleep out. Okay? Yes, and you sleep out. And the sleep only comes around 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. because of the hot nature. And those who are relatively rich, when they are building the houses, using iron sheet, they have to create a shed where again they are going to sleep during the hot season. So you might find that our brothers and sisters in Karamoja sub-region may have needed more valley tanks, more drought-resistant livestock, more drought-resistant crops, such type of situations. So the iron sheet saga put us in a problem. Then we also had another big challenge connected with the corruption, which had to do with the Entebbe Airport, Uganda Airlines, okay, which was restored. How are the senior officials appointed? How are they remunerated? It caused a lot of fireworks in the parliament. But the principle of restoring Uganda Airlines and going through its challenges like a baby walking is welcome, because you cannot be a country minus a national carrier. So let them have those challenges of complaints here, of complaints there, that this officer was not properly appointed, this function was not well executed, but at the end of the day, it improves to perfect the airline. Otherwise, you get humiliated when you are a country, 61 years of independence, you cannot fly into your sky, you don't have a national carrier. Those are things which bring us down. Okay? And I feel the way the government comes up, mobilizes people, and to say that we are going to have a policy direction in this matter, on this matter, we are very happy with it. Okay? Then, of course, Parliament will continue through its committees to probe these corruption cases every now and then. Every now and then they will continue, because they are our watchdogs, okay, and they have the oversight role. The more they are vigilant, the more they are more effective to follow up, the much more important it is for the country. I would think so.
Okay. Interesting. Now, talking about the people who have continually, been involved in such scandals, we have top leaders on this list. Like you've mentioned, the Iron Sheet saga, it had ministers, it had, top influential government officials. We have also the PDM, same thing, and other, other corruption cases have been, have involved top dogs in our government. How should they be handled? Which kind of punishment? Remember even the Kazinda issue, where billions of money were stolen and they were taken to prison, including Christopher Obey, one of the workers in the public service by then, and OPM. They were taken behind bars. How can they punish maybe these top dogs to make sure that others can get an example and leave corruption alone? Or can that work, or what's the solution? How are we supposed to handle it if it is coming from the top people? Now it means that it flows even to the layman. How can we handle that situation?
I think the situation can be handled in the way I mentioned initially, that there must be a political goodwill. And once there is a political goodwill, that political goodwill now transcends into sort of structures which can now be monitoring. Unfortunately, there is a way we have moved away from how things used to be done. For instance, there is a key sensitive organ in the country which had been frozen and abolished. And this is part of police which is known as special branch. That special branch is supposed to profile each and every citizen. A moment there is anybody in government looking for information and asks it, how is the cattle? Special branch will bring up information to do with the cattle. But since 2008, it had been banned. Okay. Now it was towards the quarter of this year, or last month, or this month, when they have announced that the special branch is going to come back. And it will be in the driving seat to do the actual technical work. Now, as I'm talking that, then also with the political goodwill, if it is there, okay, it is supposed to trust key institutions to deal with corruption. Now, what is happening, we are having several desks handling corruption. IGG is handling corruption. Auditor General is handling corruption. PAC is handling corruption. At the President's office, I think State House, there is a desk handling corruption. Then there is there are so many others, financial intelligence, so many wings, okay? Then in the process, one will arrest when does not have even powers to execute, okay, to prosecute, because that is now police work. And in the end, it is messed up. Then we have enacted a law of whistle blowing. By the time I was talking to one official from IGG, we shared a certain platform on a talk show. He was saying that the whistleblowers, they do a good job. But after they have blown the whistle, again they will go and whistle to others that, IGG is coming to arrest you. Oh, police is coming to arrest you. Such that the strategic information gets destroyed, and even some people along the way get victimized before a case can be handled. And by the time now you want to present such a type of a case, you find that it is lacking a lot of information. The principal witnesses have either disappeared, some information has been damaged here and there, such that it becomes very, very difficult. But from all the information IGG is having, from all information the Editor General, the reports are having, and the Parliamentary Accounts report is having, it can be a basis of following up these corrupt cases. The other angle I was talking about, which is now missing, is that we used to have a well-motivated, determined, and hard-working civil service, especially in the 60s. And you could really follow that this is an officer in a civil service and is decent and is concerned with his work. Right now, when these issues of corruption are coming, it is as if civil servants are not headed. The leadership of civil service has disappeared somewhere. One was explaining that indeed the secretary to the cabinet is the one who is supposed to oversee civil service in other issues, or parastatal heads in other issues. But now it has gone silent. And you will first hear, because why I'm raising this, in civil service, when you have worked there, there is a procedure by which they probe issues. They will ask you to exculpate yourself why you should not be charged. and you explain a certain situation properly to your head in writing. When you are guilty, you put it that you are guilty, and they look at the standing orders. By the time you are surrendered to the police, it should be a serious case. Now, this time police grabs you before a fair hearing with your immediate employers and the procedures. That one now causes a lot of problems. Okay. Then the other element which has happened is that maybe social media has come in. Maybe we are so much eager to learn of what is going on. They will arrest an officer, even a senior officer for that matter, and you will be screened on the cameras, handcuffed, what, all thrown even on a vanet, a Land Cruiser of that nature. And when indeed the information is even insufficient, by the time they settle down to look at all the details, at times they come with apology that we arrested a wrong person, what, we are very sorry, okay? But that does not take away that corruption is not there. Now, the other element, since I come from a political background, is corruption to become a campaign issue. Let parties put it in their manifesto. Let parties expose the dangers of corruption. Let them campaign heavily. Then other opinion leaders also come in, okay, and expose this evil. We must have a conversation, because everywhere corruption is flourishing, service delivery is suffering. And when service delivery is suffering, it is the welfare of the people. And at times it exposes our people to death. Okay? You see a number of buildings falling. They are falling because of the corrupt practices. Because when you are building in a place like Kampala or anywhere, as soon as you want to build, your plan is approved. And when the plan is approved, as you start laying the foundation, inspectors are supposed to come on the ground and see how you are doing it. But instead, our people have learned a trick that you build very fast on a public holiday. You build very fast at night, okay? You build very fast when officers have knocked off, okay? All those nocturnal activities in the construction industry are causing us a problem, not meaning that even during the day, problems are not there. We are having those big challenges, and as a country, it is not helping us. It is a minus. Okay, so we need really to strengthen all those government entities which are to do with making things very perfect, following up corrupt tendencies and what have you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so in our country here, in June, the financial budget was read to the country, and of course we noticed, or we were told, that the GDP growth was at 55%, and of course we moved a step. But is this step really viewable? Can someone see and say Uganda has moved a step? Or is our economy still shaky? Because remember, there were directives like removing the second-hand clothes, yet they are the affordable clothes, and then they bring in the ones manufactured by Ugandans, and the industries in Uganda are not yet able to handle that kind of thing. And won't it affect the economy? Where do we stand as we wrap up the year economically?
Unfortunately, I've had the issues with the Uganda, especially from the time this present leadership of NRM took over power in 1986. The figures, the statistics are so much enticing, are so much brilliant, are so much laid out. And that language, GDP, has grown by this gross domestic product, what by this percentage, okay? Yes, those figures are talking that language. But what of the ordinary person they are supposed to represent? As that ordinary person had an input in those figures, all does not have a direct input in those figures, okay? And if you were to equate a human being, our citizenry, literally in those figures, you are not capturing their challenges, their tribulations, their hardships into those figures. For instance, I'm challenging those figures. Do they know that most ordinary families in Uganda, it is hard to have breakfast, it is hard to have supper, it is hard to have lunch? And people are now bringing supper and pulling lunch to a certain time around 5 and 6. Those figures which are well written out, they are not telling the whole story.
Okay.
People are indeed suffering. Okay? And those figures which are well read out, they may represent a huge figure in the estates sector. Because our estates sector, estates and building sector, is doing fantastically very well for the upper class of people. Everywhere you go, exclusive apartments are being built.
True.
Okay? Are being built. And I have never bothered to find out how much is the rent for those apartments. Then everywhere you go in each trading center, malls are coming up, business malls are coming up, okay? Those are very well representative. And when you are computing GDP, all that is captured.
Yeah.
But it is captured and it is representing an individual, not the entire society which is suffering. Then we have huge investment now in the oil industry, which is yet to come out. So when you are reading those figures, you are going to see a huge portion in the oil sector industry, where we have not yet started exporting even a liter of it. Okay? But of course that is investment. Okay? Now, when it goes back to us, the ordinary people, how many are getting jobs? There is a massive unemployment in the country. And that massive unemployment in the country is greatly affecting all our youth and denying a youth a better future. That is very unfortunate. Now, our youth, they have tried to export them to Middle East countries for labor and to earn something and bring it home, okay, which is also commendable in one way or the other, because these workers who are working in the Middle East are helping a lot to cushion the families.
Okay.
But much as that one is happening, the underlying issues which are hitting the ordinary person remains food on the table. Agriculture, if you watch it clearly, we are not following the advice which led to the declaration of Maputo Agreement, where all governments with the GDP have talked. They are supposed to push in at least 13% of the GDP to agriculture sector, at least 13%. And as Uganda, who are already an agricultural country, we may have a counter argument that our economy depends on agriculture. With the Maputo Agreement, which is 13%, we are going to add on more. Okay? Like during the days of UPC when it was in power, it had gone to around 30% or 33% of the GDP, which was being pumped in agriculture, on an understanding that when you invest in agriculture, the returns, okay, will be much higher and will help you even to sustain your economy and to cater for your people. This is now our agriculture as we stand. It is being budgeted at about 6 or 5% of the GDP, which means that our production is not at higher productivity. And when it is not at higher productivity, it means almost each and every agricultural commodity is very expensive. And yet an ordinary person is supposed to benefit from our natural good soils, our climate, okay, and that traditional craft we have, that we can produce our food and have something for export. This is not easy. When you go to the market, when you go to the villages, the prices of any agricultural commodity is very, very high. Why is it high? The government decided to say that we are taking a position of free market economy. You are free to bring in seeds and you sell them at your own price. You are free to bring in agricultural implements and sell them at your price. You are free to do anything and you do it at your own price. The government used it to have extension workers. It pulled out the extension workers. Those who are now doing the extension work, they sponsor themselves with the transport, with medicine and what have you. By the time now they meet a farmer, they give him a heavy charge. So the figures of GDP will remain shining, will remain attractive, while the constituencies which make up the society and contribute to the economy are getting weaker and weaker. The other element which I should clarify here is that the government opted to go for what they call foreign direct investment, FDI. FDI can work very well. You can get investors, they bring in money. But the investors may also request that as we bring in money, allow us to take our profits out of your economy. Allow us to have a tax holiday. Okay? When we have a tax holiday, it means we are not paying taxes for a certain period of time. And when you are depending on foreign direct investment, you have no law which ties that person that stay permanently in the country. Once that person sees that the situation is not okay, it will easily fold up and go away. I think you have seen some of the supermarkets which have said bye-bye. We have exhausted the money you people you had. Now we are going into another particular part of the country. So the FDI, essentially, their activities will be added on, but at the end of the day, the money will go away. In the economics, they call it capital flight or repatriation of profits, which you have already consented to. So by the time now the government comes in again to say, it is too much to rely on FDI, foreign development investment. Let us try to do something internal. And this something internal they are doing, if you are watching it now, the government is trying to create some parastatals or monopoly. And right now, the importation of oil and the other products is being handled now by a government monopoly. And of course, there is still a talk that will government manage or it is biting too much than it can chew. That is the stage now we are at. But it gives hope that yes, let the government have a driving seat somewhere, okay, in the oil industry, oil importation, which usually to be left to other companies. Whatever revenue, whatever infrastructure which you have created remains essentially Ugandan. And it gives credibility to our 61 years of independence. I think the same thing is being introduced recently in the transport sector. I have seen a circular which has come from the president where they are saying, we are assembling buses. Yet this person with this company dominates the show. We used to have those import substitution industries, which were sacrificed when we decided to have a private sector driven economy.
Okay.
And I think the government now is starting to learn some lessons that we burnt our fingers here. We burnt our fingers here. But the lessons may be learned when it is too late, when so many people have suffered, okay? Because now I'm happy. National Insurance, National Housing Corporation is coming back. Uganda Airlines has rolled back. I think they are trying to talk about the language of either bringing back a UCB, Uganda Commercial Bank, or they are trying to talk about the language of bringing back a cooperative bank. Okay? When you have those public corporations or enterprises and you reflect a GDP of that magnitude, then you can sit behind and you smile, because you will know that my Uganda Airlines has a component. Our oil industry has a component. Our bank have a component. But now in this situation, we are more dominated, okay, in terms of revenue, in terms of income, in terms of contribution, by mainly the foreign companies we invited in.
Okay.
Okay. Take it, for instance, in the telecom sector. We don't have a stake. I think it is only UCCC, Uganda Communication Commission. But these giant network companies, we are not there. We sold everything, okay, and they are making a lucrative amount of money, and they have an impact on the economy. We need to go there. We need to re-establish. Yes, in the media industry, a lot of media houses which are owned domestically have come in, and there we are succeeding. It is a success story.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's break for a while. Of course, we still have some minutes and we'll be back with more questions. Do not go away from Issues at Hand. My name is Carol and we are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe.
Issues at Hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Issues at hand, powered by
Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe. Comfort and luxury at its best.
Comfort and luxury at its best. It is Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe, located in the heart of Entebbe. You can always go there and enjoy their services. We have only 7 minutes to go, and I would like to wrap up with one question, and that is to put all this information together and make an assessment. Would you say that Uganda is ready for its next step? Uganda is ready maybe to move towards being a first world country, considering the fact that we have been under a multi-party system for some years now. Is it working for us, or do we need to go dictatorship? A little bit of dictatorship, will it help our country heal and become better?
No, you have been there in dictatorship, and you have been scratched, and you have been battered. So we should not actually entertain such a vocabulary when things are even disappointing. What we should do to help our country to reach greater heights, we should have political certainty, which has to do with the political transition, which has to do with the political succession at leadership at a national level. Right now, we are not very sure for how long the current leader will push on. Can it be next 5 years? Can it be next 10 years? What happens? People want to see that transition from his political party and other political parties in government. When there is that uncertainty, it affects the entire sectors. Others will say, the political question in Uganda remains unresolved. We cannot just rush there to invest. Others will continue saying, no, restore term limits such that we have political certainty. Because Uganda had adopted the constitution where each sitting president does not go beyond the 2 terms. But when the 2 terms were about to end for this sitting president, the constitution was amended. So people are asking from the current leader, what next for the country? Other countries, that question is automatically answered. Tanzania has answers to that question in respect to their country. Kenya has answers to that country. Zambia, Malawi have answers. But in Uganda, we don't have answers. And then others are now starting to say, the longer stay in power of one leader also causes some issues. Whether the land problems are starting to escalate now, others will say, no, the government is not functioning properly because we need some changes. So all this is happening. So to go back to your country, multipartism is the only way. We just need to perfect, we just need to work extra hard to stamp the political parties on the ground. And if we see that one person cannot lead us far, let us unite, Even we encourage the ruling party to make coalitions, to move beyond themselves, because Uganda is owned by everyone. And we need to see that the youth, especially the youth, are driven into productivity, are driven into politics, are more involved because they are the future. And indeed, they are the present. But we haven't given them enough skill. We haven't allowed them to be more confident. We have kept them in a manner that they should sit and survive by somebody dropping something for them. Yet, in most countries, this age we are having of the youth would be the most productive age, the most versatile age, the age which can guarantee your future. So we need to integrate the youth much faster, and when we are integrating the youth much faster, we need to show them the political roles, the economic roles, the social roles they have to play. We need to create space for them. Failure to create space for them leads the youth into frustration. And when they get frustrated, they can become drug victims. They can do a lot of excesses.
Okay.
And at times when they want to come out, they may come out in a violent manner. So the country has to resolve the political leadership, has to resolve the transition. Let us know as a country, let us start seeing that we are moving towards change of leadership, whether it is in 10 years or 15 years, but that plan should be there and well tailed.
Okay.
And we shouldn't have these squabbles of where each side is pulling the other side. Countries have lost it at that level, and countries have survived it at that level, depending on what they call Mr. Vision, visionary leadership. Always sees very far and plans for the country.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Lwanga Christopher. Because of time, we're going to have to wrap up right here and right now. But you have been a very pivotal part of Issues at Hand, and we do thank you so much. I think this will be our last show this year, but next year we hope to see you once again at Family TV. Also, you out there, thank you very much for viewing from right where the year started to now. My name is Carol Tumwine, and until tomorrow or next time, it is a good morning from me and the production crew. We are powered by Protea Hotel by Marriott Entebbe.
Issues at Hand